Hello everybody, welcome to yet another video. As you would have seen, or hopefully you would have seen, in one of my last videos, which was me talking about Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, my non-spoiler thoughts. Here is my full spoiler version. So, let's get into this.
Guilty secret to tell before my head explodes.
Okay, so Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Without me going any further, spoiler alert goes without saying, I have purposely left this video for up until now because I knew certain people, close friends and such, were going to see it over the past weekend. We are now at Christmas. It's actually early hours on Christmas morning, actually. I'm going to get this out the way so that I've done it, and then I can move on. So then, I want to talk about everything that I can remember anyways about the film, and then at the end, I'm just going to kind of have an actual proper thoughts of, even though you have an idea of what I thought about the film. I did enjoy the film, but I want to go into it in a bit more detail. So, spoiler warning, do not watch past this point. You've been warned. Here we go. So, as many of you that have seen the film, if you're still here, the way the film kind of starts off, in my opinion, it did feel like there was a bit of a time skip. I don't think there was a very long time skip, but possibly a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, a couple of months, something like that, or even as much as just a year or something like that. Why I say that, in between the events of what happened with The Last Jedi and this film, we find that Poe, Finn, Chewbacca and C-3PO and R2-D2 and all that, all those guys, they are kind of going off in the Falcon on their own, while Rey is in the Resistance Forest, being trained by General Leia. We find out that Leia took over the training from Luke, because obviously, again, in The Last Jedi, he became one with the Force, as we saw. So now General Leia is now essentially her teacher to carry on her training. So that is how we find them when this film starts. But before that all starts, it starts off mostly with Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren is he's flying to this mysterious planet. Now this planet is where Sidious is, Palpatine. So that's where he is hiding. So we find Kylo Ren. He's basically tracking him down. He's there with the primary focus as to kill him or silence him, because Kylo Ren has this alternate plan. He wants to recruit Rey ever since The Force Awakens, right through to now. Kylo Ren has wanted to recruit Rey to the dark side. He has his own plans and ambitions, and he feels Palpatine, he is an unnecessary threat that could cause problems for him. So in the beginning, as the film is, he is now fully, what is he now? He's Supreme Leader, there we go. Is Supreme Leader Kylo Ren in The Rise of Skywalker. So in between the two, I'm not sure if he has maybe had a promotion, possibly. I mean, I can't remember Kylo Ren being called Supreme Leader in the first two. So I'm guessing he has had a promotion of such. Or but anyway. So, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren goes to the planet where Palpatine is. He finds Palpatine, and Palpatine kind of tries to give him an alternate plan to join him, and also to get Rey to join, and Kylo Ren would then essentially be his number two in a way, to be a part of this secretive part of the First Order. So it's basically Palpatine has his own starship, Star Destroyer, whatever, and he has his own crew, and that's where we found the Sith Troopers as well. So he has his own Sith Troopers, they're all with Palpatine. So we found out there's this kind of like a First Order cell in a way, and as the film progresses, the film is about, again, Rey trying to find out more about her abilities, more about what it means to be a Jedi. And we basically have this thing with the Skywalker, Rise of Skywalker, where Rey is still a bit unsure about her abilities. She's training in the forest, Resistance Forest. I call it Resistance Forest because I can't remember the planet. But she's training and still getting used to it. She has become, come on in leaps and bounds between the events of what happened with The Force Awakens and Last Jedi. So she's just come over a little bit more confident in some ways, but she still has a long way to go. So this film is pretty much all about her, pretty much being her own person and heeding the advice she's been given from Luke and also from Leia. So as the film again progresses, the film is more about, again, like Rey becoming better with her powers. But then it's also more focused on Kylo Ren, or more of Ben himself. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head because it's been a few days since I've seen it. So basically the main nitty-gritty stuff that we find out in this film is Rey is a Palpatine. We found this out through Kylo Ren. Now, there is a brilliant, awesome duel between Kylo Ren and Rey on the top, on a bit of what's left of remains of the Death Star. And they are duking it out, and that is when Kylo Ren kind of spills the beans and says, Palpatine is your grandfather. As Kylo Ren's grandfather is Darth Vader, so they are both it's kind of like a big revelation. And so yeah, that is a massive big bit of news that we found out. Now, personally, I'm not massively surprised that she's a Palpatine. Now, we do find out more about her parents as well, because obviously she was left on Jakku. And we never really knew who our actual parents were. And from this, again, Kylo Ren, when part of that duel sequence that they have on the remains of the Death Star, he also kind of says about her parents, and he says to Rey that they were pretty much nobodies. They were part of the Resistance. They were fighting alongside the Resistance, but they were nobody in particular. You actually see their faces for the first time. You see your parents actually properly there, and they're nobody that we recognise. Obviously, they are somebodies, but the way Kylo Ren says it, they are nobodies. But obviously, they were significant in some way. But they're characters we've never been, the characters we have never known before. So they're completely new. And so we found out the true reason why her parents did what they did was because they wanted to protect her from Palpatine, because they knew Palpatine, if he was, I'm guessing they all knew he was still possibly alive, and in a way to kind of keep her safe, like they did, leaving it on Jakku, it was a way to try and keep away Palpatine. But obviously, as fate happens, with meeting Finn, getting all entussled with the Resistance, and then ended up having fights with the First Order and all the adventures that they had when they all met for properly throughout the first two movies. That obviously caught the attention of Palpatine, and this is where we find that obviously with Snoke as well. Snoke was, again, we found out again that when Kylo Ren goes to find Palpatine, he also does say to Kylo that, I was everywhere. I was everything. I was in your head. I was everywhere. I was Snoke. I was this. I was that. So we find out as well that Palpatine has been fully manipulating behind the scenes. So he's been completely manipulating everything for Kylo. And upon that, within that duel thing as well, it's also kind of becomes an ultimatum. The duel between Rey and Kylo Ren on the remains of the Death Star again. That scene is also kind of an ultimatum for Kylo to become Ben again, in a way for him to kind of try and no longer fight this. Palpatine. Rey can't fight Palpatine on her own. She needs help. So in a way, for the first time, Rey kind of gets the help from Kylo Ren or from Ben Solo. Also, what I loved about this film is also how they handled General Leia, sorry. Obviously, we all know Carrie Fisher unfortunately did pass away. She passed away not long after The Last Jedi. Apparently, she did manage to record majority of her scenes for The Rise of Skywalker. How they handled her death, how they finally killed off her character, was really quite subtle and quite nicely done. Now, I don't know what other people think of this, but I thought they handled it quite nicely. Basically, what happens with that is, it's almost as if she has. But no, basically, what happens is as well is that Rey has gone on a mission with Poe and Finn and all the others to find this device that finds out where the planet where Palpatine is, and it's like a compass kind of thing, and that's why she's where the remains of the Death Star. This is where this device is, so that's the whole reason why she's there. And then obviously the duel happens between Kylo Ren and Rey. So while this is happening, they're listening in at the Resistance base. They're listening into everything that's currently going on. General Leia, she kind of is obviously connected with the Force. Obviously, she's a Force user, and she then kind of feels Ben again. And as she kind of feels Ben, and she kind of starts to feel him like still kind of slipping away in a way, she uses the last of her ability to try and change the tide a little bit for Rey, and in doing that, she touches him with the Force, and she just comes out with Ben. She basically just manages to go to where Rey is, and she just kind of uses the Force to say Ben. This distracts Ben or Kylo Ren, and then in doing so, Rey was able to stab him through the chest, through one of his lungs, and pretty much almost kills him. So that causes the catalyst. That's why it changes, why Kylo Ren becomes Ben again, ultimately. So that is why that all happens, and it's pretty nice. I love what they did there. Also, I love that the little cameo appearance from Han Solo as well, because he's not a Force ghost, but as this is all going on, he also appears, all in his subconscious, and he pretty much says, "Look, come home." And they say, obviously, my mum's gone, so Rey feels it, Kylo Ren feels it. Everyone that's Force sensitive feels Carrie's energy just disappears, and they all know she's passed away. So this then causes Ben to kind of reflect on stuff he's done, and also this causes this Han appearing again. So yeah, that was a lovely scene as well. So you finally see Han kind of come back to try and finally come back to us. It's not late. It's not too late. Come home, and that's that. So when obviously, like I said, she Rey actually stabs him through the chest. She actually decides to heal Ben rather than kill him or let him die. So she heals him with the Force, and then she makes a hasty retreat. This then kind of sends a message to Ben that maybe it is time to no longer stay evil, and maybe it's time to kind of help Rey rather than recruit her to the dark side. So that is basically what happens with the film from then on. So basically, without going too far into this video, because I don't want to make it too long, basically what we found out the full thingy of Rey. She becomes, we found out who she actually is. We found out she's a Palpatine. We found out she is, she is the niece. Obviously, Palpatine is her grandfather or whatever. And then we also find out finally what happens with Kylo Ren, and he finally does change. He starts to, he changes and becomes good again. And he actually goes to assist her when he finds her again where Palpatine is, and he actually goes to assist. So, so now I've said that, I want to just go into the pros and cons in a moment as well. So, I love what they did with General Leia, how they, like I said a moment ago, how they killed off her character. I thought they did that really nicely. I thought the duel scene on board the remains of the Death Star, I really loved that scene. And also, the only things that let me down with the film was the Knights of Ren. So here we come to the pros and cons. So my cons with this film is the Knights of Ren. We see them in a few scenes. They are pretty much just tracking them. They are pretty much just tracking Finn, Rey, and all them lot. And we see them for a few times, and they do look like they mean business. And they do look pretty cool. But ultimately, it's Kylo Ren or Ben, when he goes back to find Rey to help her out against Palpatine, they attack Ben. And he ends up taking on his own bodyguards in a way, his own men. And he's able, I won't say he's able to take them down really easily. He does struggle at the beginning, but eventually he's able to get his strength and he's able to take them down on his own. And I felt that was a bit of a kick in the teeth. I wanted more from those guys because I've heard of these Knights of Ren. I've heard they were bloody awesome, really awesome warriors. And we see bugger all. We see one fight, and that is them between Kylo going and attacking Kylo Ren, and he takes them out. So we see absolutely nothing from them. We don't even hear them speak either. They don't even talk. So that was a letdown. Another con would be I wanted a little bit more from the ending space battle. There is a few elements that I did like about that, but I'll talk about that in my pros. Sorry, but in the cons section, I felt that it lapsed just a little bit. Even though there was good elements to it, I wanted more. It just felt I wanted more from the space battle, because that's the whole point of Star Wars, is the space battles. I felt it was a bit lacklustre at the end. So what else can I say for a con? What was it? I don't know, actually. I think they were my only main cons that I had with the film. I wanted more from the Knights of Ren, and I would have liked a little bit more from the ending of the film. My pros, on the other hand, again, I did like parts of that ending thing, the ending space battle. The scene, most of the scenes that I loved was when it was the Resistance versus the Sith Troopers, and when basically Rey is elsewhere, and this is Finn, Poe, and everybody else, and the rest of the Resistance that have just waged war on the First Order, and they're basically on this. I don't know if I think they're on a Star Destroyer or something, some ship, or maybe, I don't know. And it's like a proper war scene, really, really cool. And the Resistance are fighting the troopers, and they're riding into battle on what looks like these alien type horses, which is really, really cool. I love that scene. It was absolutely fantastic. I love the Sith troopers as well. I think they just looked really, really cool and menacing. What else did I like from it? I like the fight scenes, the duels between people. I just generally like how the film felt to me. Yeah, the feeling of the film just felt really good to me. I don't know, it just felt for me. It felt this is what Star Wars is supposed to be. It had everything I wanted from a Star Wars film, and I was, even though I do have a couple of letdowns from the film, I would love to have seen more about. But I am very content with what I did get in the end. I did like the film as a whole, regardless of those faults. What else can I say? So, oh yes, the very, very end, basically once Palpatine, basically between the fight between Ben, Rey, and Palpatine, Ben is pretty much cast out by Palpatine pretty much straight away. So it's ended up just being Rey and Palpatine fighting on their own. And he manages to kind of suck out life force from from Ben and from Rey before he gets rid of him, and he's able to kind of rejuvenate himself. And obviously, he fires Force lightning right up into space, disrupting all the efforts that the Resistance fighting back to the First Order, and Rey starts to see all these falling, everyone falling, and all the Resistance craft and everything all starting to fall because they've got no power. And she's laying down and she's seeing all this happening, and then she manages to see through all this, and then you just see this beautiful black canvas with stars, and you finally see that she's connecting to the Force and to the past Jedi that have come before her. And I absolutely love that scene where you actually hear past Jedi. And from what I can gather, I've done some research into this, of what voices you hear. And the voices you do hear in that apparently is a mixture. So the only ones that I know of is Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor and Alec McGuinness versions, Keenan from Star Wars Rebels, and Liam Neeson's character. I've forgotten his Qui-Gon, is it? Who else do you hear? Obviously Yoda, Luke, and a few others. So yeah, there's a few in there. There's a couple of more female characters in there, as well as Ahsoka. There we go. You hear Ahsoka as well. But you hear a couple of others that apparently is meant to be other female Jedi as well that came before her. So yeah, that was a beautiful scene, and all of them going, she is strong with the Force. She has the Force. Rise, Rey. Rise, Rey Skywalker. And I just love that. A very empowering moment. And she manages to actually take him out in the end. Of course, it becomes a toll on Rey. She does actually die in the film. But in doing so, Ben manages to survive momentarily. And goes to Rey's side, and he's able to, like she did to him, heal her with where Rey healed Ben with the Force. Ben does this in return, and and pretty much gives all of his life force to Rey, and she ends up surviving. But obviously Ben does die. So that was really quite. I do like that bit at the end. That was really nice, and also I like the fitting tribute that she does at the very end, where she goes back to Tatooine after all that, and she buries. She goes back to the old where Luke used to live with his aunt and uncle, and she takes back Leia's and Luke's lightsabers, and she buries them deep in the sand right there. And it's a very nice, touching thing to end the Skywalker saga with doing that. I thought that was a nice, touching little scene. And then as this old woman on Tatooine kind of comes back and says, "Who are you? There's been nobody around here for ages," kind of thing. And she says, "Oh, nothing. I'm just here. I'm nobody, pretty much." And she says, "What is your name?" She just says, "It's Rey." And she looks away. There's some of these nice, lovely forced ghosts of Leia and Luke together. And she then says Skywalker. So she now knows. She calls herself as she is now a Skywalker rather than a Palpatine. And she finally, at the end of the film, finds out her true identity. Even though she is blood to Palpatine, she is now fully adopted into the Skywalker name. So yeah, that is all I can really talk about. I mean, I've probably missed out a few things, but I wanted to talk about the main things that we found out in the film. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Again, there was some things I would like to see more from Knights of Ren and so on. Also, I would say very quickly, I thought the first 45 minutes of the film was a little bit too fast in transition. Like, 1 minute you was here, next minute you was over there, and it seemed to steady out a little bit as the film progressed. But the first 45 minutes was quite rushed. That I've noticed a few people have picked up on that. But yeah, there we go. It's been quite a long video. I apologise for that, but a lot to be spoken about, a lot to be talk about with the film. I enjoyed it very much. It was definitely the better of the new trilogy. It's an improvement over The Last Jedi for definite. I do like The Force Awakens. I do like that film. But this one for me, I thought how they handled certain things was really nicely done, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you for watching. Until next time, stay awesome.